stop. Before you keep scrolling, when was the last time you went a full day without thinking about that one person? Not someone you vaguely miss. That specific person, the one your mind keeps circling back to, even after you've told yourself, more times than you can count, that you are finally done thinking about them. What if everything you've been telling yourself about why you can't let them go has been wrong this entire time? Today, you are going to understand something most people never fully grasp, the real psychological force underneath this kind of attachment. And once you see it clearly, you will never be stuck inside it the same way again. If this video finally helps you understand what's been keeping you emotionally tethered to someone you know isn't right for you, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells me this kind of content is genuinely reaching the people who need it. Here's something personal I want to ask you. In the comments below, tell me, when you think about this person, is it the good memories that hurt more, or is it the unanswered questions? There's no wrong answer. Your response might be exactly what someone else scrolling through the comments needs to read tonight. Think about someone in your life who keeps going back to the same person. Someone who says they're done but somehow finds their way back again. They're not weak. They're caught inside something they haven't understood yet. Send them this video today. It might be the one conversation they've been needing to have with themselves for a very long time. If understanding your own mind, in love, in how you attach, in why certain people stay inside you long after they should be gone, is something that genuinely matters to you, subscribe to Psyche Vision. Every video on this channel is built specifically to help you see yourself more clearly. If you've spent months, maybe years, telling yourself you just need to try harder to let this go, and this video finally gave you a different lens for that experience, you can support the channel through Super Thanks. It directly helps me keep creating content like this for the people who truly need it. Here is what almost nobody admits out loud about this experience. You've already made the decision multiple times. You've deleted the messages, cleared the photos, and maybe even written it down in your journal. This is the last time. I am done. And for a while, it seems to be working. You feel lighter, clearer. You think maybe this time is genuinely different. And then, without any warning at all, something completely ordinary trips the wire. A song, a particular scent, a random Tuesday afternoon. And every wall you carefully built over weeks, sometimes months, collapses in about 30 seconds. And there is a specific reason that keeps happening. But I promise you, it is not the reason you've been telling yourself. Most people carry a quiet, logical assumption. The difficulty of letting go must be proportional to how much you loved someone. Stronger pain equals deeper love. That feels right. It sounds right. But neuroscience and attachment psychology paint a completely different picture, because the brain does not bond primarily to people. It bonds to patterns, to the emotional states those people created inside you, to the unresolved arc of a story your nervous system hasn't finished processing yet. And that single fact changes everything about why this feels the way it does. What if the hold this person still has over you has almost nothing to do with love, and everything to do with what your nervous system learned to need from them? That is exactly what we're going to answer today. And the answer changes more than just how you see this relationship. It changes how you understand yourself. Think carefully about the actual texture of that relationship. Not the best night and not the worst fight. The pattern, the daily rhythm of how it genuinely felt to exist inside it. 1 week, warm, present, making you feel truly chosen. The next, cold, distant, unreachable. And suddenly you are running mental calculations in the background of everything you do, replaying conversations, trying to identify the exact moment something changed, auditing your own behavior, quietly wondering whether you are the problem. That cycle, and what it silently, systematically did to your nervous system over time, is the actual story buried beneath this attachment. Not the love story, the nervous system story. There is a neurological mechanism called intermittent reinforcement. It is one of the most powerful and least discussed forces in human emotional experience. When reward is unpredictable, the brain does not settle, it intensifies. The dopamine output increases, not to make you feel satisfied, but to make you chase the feeling. The brain actually treats an uncertain reward as more compelling and more urgent than a reliable one. It is the same fundamental process operating underneath various compulsive behaviors, and your nervous system, without you ever consciously directing it, may have been running this exact pattern throughout that entire relationship. Let me say this as plainly as I can. Those moments when that person suddenly came back, when they were warm again out of nowhere, when the message arrived unexpectedly, when they looked at you the way they used to, those moments did not just feel good. They felt like relief. And relief following extended emotional tension is one of the most potent experiences available to the human nervous system. More binding in many cases than steady and consistent love ever is. What if what you've been calling love was actually your nervous system desperately chasing the relief it had been conditioned to expect? Because what you miss may not even be that person specifically. You miss the relief, the feeling of being chosen, even briefly, even unpredictably, the version of the future you were quietly building in the back of your mind, the one where it finally fully worked out, the hope. And that hope, that imagined future, is where the deepest attachment actually lives, not in who they were, in the story you were continuously writing around them. Psychologists describe something called the identity merger effect. When we form deep emotional bonds, parts of our self-concept begin to intertwine with another person. They become woven into how we understand ourselves, part of the emotional architecture of our daily lives. So when that relationship fractures, even when it was painful, even when you knew it was wrong, it does not simply remove a person from your days. It creates a gap in your sense of self, a space where a recognizable pattern used to exist. And your mind, without any conscious instruction from you, keeps reaching back toward that space, that persistent reaching. That is what looks like missing someone. But neurologically, it is your system trying to repair something. It registers as incomplete and unresolved. You grieved not the person, but who you were with them. This is exactly why well-meaning advice so rarely works on its own. The people who care about you are right. You do deserve better, you should move on. But they are speaking to your logic. And this is not a logic problem. It is a nervous system problem, a self-continuity problem. It does not respond to being reasoned with. It responds to being deeply and honestly understood. Let me ask you something I want you to genuinely sit with. If you knew with absolute certainty that this person was never coming back, no possibility, no remaining thread of hope, what would be the first feeling to arrive in your body? Sadness? Or something that feels closer to panic? Because if the answer is panic, that is critically important information, not evidence that you loved too much. Evidence that somewhere along the way, your sense of emotional safety became fused to their presence, to their unpredictable availability and their occasional warmth. And when exactly did you first learn that love was something you had to earn in order to keep? Because the honest answer to that question, that is the real entry point to everything that comes next. Here is the insight most people moving through this experience never quite reach. The relationships that prove hardest to leave are not always the most loving ones. Sometimes, and this is the part most worth sitting with, they are the ones that touched an older wound, a wound that was living inside you long before this person ever arrived. Maybe somewhere in your earlier life, love did not feel unconditional. It had to be earned. Through the right behavior, the right words, being exactly enough at exactly the right moment. And if you weren't, love quietly withdrew. That dynamic, love as something requiring constant re-earning, doesn't register as wrong to someone who is still learning what love is. It just registers as how love works. Emotional unavailability doesn't feel like danger, it feels like home. And so when someone arrives in your adult life who recreates that same pattern, where love feels uncertain, where proving yourself feels necessary, where you are always almost enough but somehow never quite, your nervous system does not fire an alarm. It sends a recognition signal. This feels known. I understand how to move in this space, even when that space was hurting you. This is not a flaw in your character. It is not weakness or poor judgment. It is a pattern your nervous system built carefully, protectively, to make sense of emotional experiences that were beyond your capacity to fully process at the time. And the real work of letting go, the kind that actually holds, the kind that doesn't silently collapse under pressure 3 months later, begins the moment you stop asking, "Why can't I leave?" and start asking, "What part of me learned to recognize this as love in the first place?" Because when that question gets answered honestly and with genuine compassion for yourself, the attachment does not just gradually weaken, it fundamentally transforms. A letting go stops feeling like surrendering something precious. It starts feeling like setting down something that was never truly yours to carry. And in that moment, something real shifts. If this video shifted the question you've been asking from "Why can't I let go?" to "What is my nervous system actually trying to protect?" hit the like button right now. It genuinely helps this content reach other people who are sitting in exactly this moment tonight. But here's what I want to know from you. Looking back honestly, was it the person you were attached to, or was it the feeling of being chosen that you couldn't release? Drop your answer in the comments. You will be surprised how many people reply with the exact same thing. If you know someone who keeps returning to a person who isn't right for them, someone who explains it away, defends it, holds on even while they're clearly hurting, please share this with them. Not to push them toward any decision, just to help them understand what is actually happening inside them. That understanding alone can be the thing that changes everything. If tonight you learned something about your nervous system and your attachment patterns that you didn't know when you first clicked this video, and you want more of that, subscribe to Psyche Vision. This is exactly the kind of work we do here every single week. If understanding the real psychology behind why you couldn't move on, not surface-level advice, but the actual mechanism, felt meaningful to you tonight, you can support that mission directly through Super Thanks. It helps me keep creating this content for the people who genuinely need it. So let this be the one thing you carry forward. The reason letting go has felt impossible was never weakness. It was your heart doing precisely what it was shaped to do, seeking connection, chasing the relief it had been taught to expect, trying to finish a story that felt unresolved. But you are allowed to learn a different way, a love that does not require you to earn your place inside it, a connection that feels stable instead of intoxicating only because it is always almost disappearing, something that gives you actual room to breathe and room to simply be. You are allowed to want that, and starting right now, you are allowed to choose it.